Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geeky First, and it's just me, Dylan, again here today for another solo dolo episode. It should be a fun one. I'm calling this the Game of the Year epilogue. Of course, last week's episode was the Game of the Year episode where myself and Kirkland did our Game of the Year list along with Travis and Taylor jumping in there with their version as well. Had all sorts of fun conversations about all the different Game of the Year thoughts, honorable mentions, things we didn't get around to playing, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, this week I want to do just a little bit more, and I'm going to do something kind of crazy. Maybe not. But in that last week's episode, I, of course, had my top 10 ranked games of the year. I had a few honorable mentions. But in this episode, I am going to do my ranking of all 49 games that I played in the calendar year. So taking that top 10, expanding it out, stretching it out to every single game, every single new game, I should say, that I played in the year. I'm also going to do my 2026 top 10 most anticipated games of the year. Now, next week's episode, we will be doing the preview. So we're going to go month to month and talk about all the stuff that is announced, all the release dates, break down all that stuff. I think I'll have Travis and Kirkland with me for that one. But yeah, in this episode, I'm going to declare my top 10 most anticipated. And then also one of the things I talked about last week is that, Kirby Air Riders, I had just played a couple days before we did our Game of the Year episode. It was hard for me to have too many thoughts on it, but I've played a lot of it in the last week, so I'm going to talk about that as well. And I'll put that on my top 10, or not on my top 10, but on my top 49 ranking, of course. You'll see where that ended up being. So yeah, I think we'll just kind of get right into it. Should be fun, something a little bit different today. So yeah, I'm going to start with my list, my top 49 list. And what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to work my way down. So different than the normal, starting at 10, working our way up. And so this is definitely supposed to be a accompanying episode, like a bonus episode to last week's game of the year. I definitely recommend. In fact, I'll be mad at you if you listen to this episode first. Go please check out the Game of the Year episode, and then come back and this is kind of like a nice, nice dessert, I should say, to what that episode is. And the reason for that is I'm just going to spoil my list right here because I'm going to kind of blast through the top 10 because I talked in a big way about all of those, and then we'll spend more time on some of the other ones later. So once again, last week episode, my top 10, number 1 was Expedition 33, number 2, Death Stranding 2, number 3 was Silk Song, 4, Donkey Kong Bonanza, 5, Mario Kart World, 6, Atomfall, 7, Ball Pit, 8, Blueprints, 9, Tony Hawk 3 Plus 4, number 10, I put Avowed. And so this is where I want to kind of break down and slow down a little bit here, because as per usual with my Game of the Year list, I always kind of break things down into tiers. And I had a tier of pretty much my 10, 11, 12 are kind of all in the same tier now. One of those is Avowed, one of those is Metal Garden, which I talked about last week, and Kirby Air Riders. And so I was kind of had that same little tier going on last week as well. But Air Riders has changed a little bit just because I've played a lot more of it in this last week. And yeah, I kind of want to stop here and just talk about this game for a while, like, a bit of a review, a bit of an impression. So it's early on in the list here, but I think this is a good time to do that. And if you're watching the YouTube version, I'm just going to have some footage from the direct playing, so you can check out some of that if you want on the side. But yeah, Kirby Air Riders, I've played a ton of this game now. I've been traveling, been on some planes and some airports, just sitting around, Christmas time sort of vibes. And so I've just been playing a lot of different games, which I'm excited to share in the next few weeks. But Kirby Air Riders is the one I wanted to talk about here. And so this game, I never played the original, and after watching both of Sakurai's directs that he did for this game, I was intrigued, but it felt like, okay, the price is maybe a little steep for what this game is. And I think so far I've really enjoyed it, and I think I'll get my money's worth over time because it is a crazy expensive game, as all Switch 2 games are at this point. But I think, the first thing I want to highlight about this game is kind of like in that same sort of Smash Bros. Way, there's just so much to do. There are so many game modes that feel very different. There's a lot of stuff to unlock. I love unlocking stuff. I think Sakurai with Smash and things like that has gotten, it's just so much fun to unlock all the content. Some games it's like, oh, you just want everything from the get-go, but this one it's like such a fun time to unlock every little thing. And there's even like more of that in this game, it feels like, compared to like Smash Ultimate to some extent, because in Smash you don't have, like, I don't think you unlock stages anymore. I don't think you unlock items anymore, right? Like it's just characters at this point in time, like certain mode things. But yeah, in this game you have to unlock like absolutely everything. You start with so little, and you kind of build up to everything you're going to get along the way. So that, I'll get my money's worth over time. But yeah, the main modes in this game, of course, there's the air ride mode, which is the simple basic racing mode. That's, where the camera's behind you and you're flying through these courses in a very Mario Kart-esque sort of way, but I'll talk about the kind of distinctions later on. There's top ride racing, which is kind of an aerial view, and you can kind of pretty much see the whole course in one camera shot. So it's pulled out. The maps are much smaller, much more simplified too, kind of less going through caves or going through crazy paths and different realms, which some of these other maps do. So that's fun as well. You have City Trial, which is a really cool mode. So this is similar to the original game had this as well. But yeah, City Trial, essentially you have 5 minutes, you and up to, I think, 16 players on this giant map. So one map, not really a race map, just kind of an open area. There's a city area, there's some fields, there's some underground caves, there's a volcano, there's like an underground parking garage, there's like a crashed pirate ship and some water areas. There's things you can fly up to in the sky way up above everything else. And you're going around, you're collecting power-ups, boosting up your character, you're finding carts, or machines, I should say. The cars in this game are called machines. So you're switching between machines, upgrading those stats, finding things. There's events that'll pop up, whether that's just like a world event, like that could be something like a boss battle, which is kind of fun when you have 16 racers all coming in to just destroy this giant, flying dragon or whatever it is. A dinosaur, I think, is one of them that can pop up. And then there's other things, like you might get like a mini race within that 5-minute timer for people who like go to that part of the map and sign up for the race, quote unquote. Then you do a little bonus race, and then whoever wins that gets some nice rewards. So you go around for a few minutes, and then after that 5-minute timer is up, and you can change the timer length if you want longer or shorter games. That's just the default. After you do all that, you get sent into a variety of mini games. Really just one, which is a criticism I do want to throw against this. So after all this racing, you've built up your stats. Maybe you're really good at flying, but maybe you're kind of slow, so you can maybe pick a mini game that'll help you, just like that'll be beneficial to you if you can just fly really high. It doesn't matter if you're super fast. Maybe you just have crazy speed and crazy boost. Maybe you just want to go for a basic race. And then there's like other mini games like hitting certain targets, riding on like these rails. There's battle ones where you just have to destroy as many enemies as you can, kind of sudden death battle royale type battle sort of things. And so I really like this. I think there's a lot of variety there. You can also just go in the City Trial menu and play those mini games, which I've been doing a lot of as well, because there's certain challenges in them. So it's fun to kind of master them by just playing them over and over again. And then when you actually get them after a long City Trial, you can kind of be a little bit more expert at them. And I love City Trial. I like this map. I like the idea. I loved when they had this same mode in Smash 4 in the 3DS version. They had Smash Run, which is a very similar thing. Go around a giant map, collect a bunch of power-ups, and then you get like a race to the finish or a battle at the end. And I think my really only major criticism here, and it is kind of a major one, is that I wish there was just a bit more settings to customize the experience. And really the only thing I want, actually, is that after that 5-minute timer, I wish you just had the ability to make it so there was more mini games, maybe like a best of 3 or a first to win 2 separate mini games. That way you would kind of have to be a little bit more well-rounded. You couldn't just win off of one specific game mode and one character build style kind of thing. And it would just add a bit more variety in terms of like different play styles, not just having to go for the same thing every time. And I think it was also make it a bit more rewarding, because it feels like you go around for 5 minutes, and it's like, it is 5 minutes, but it's like a dense 5 minutes. Like it feels like 10 or 15 minutes sometimes. And then you go into this battle, which can sometimes be like 30 seconds long. And so you spend all this time to build up to this final thing, and then it's so quick that it's just over. And so I just wish I could have a little bit more customization there. You can extend the time of City Trial or shorten it, as I mentioned, but you can't really change how many mini games are going to pop up at the end. And I like them. I think they're all quite fun and different and varied. I just wish there was a bit more customization there as to how the final battle goes. But I still have really enjoyed that. I think it's really, really fun. It's so different than the basic air riding mode. And then on top of that, the other mode in there is, what is it called? It's called Road Trip. And this is kind of like a Smash Bros. Classic mode, sort of. There is like a map that or you start on level 1, and then you do like a bunch of stuff. Maybe it takes like 15 minutes to get through that level 1, then you go on level 2, and then like the map kind of progresses that way. And then with each of those levels, you have multiple battles within them. So you might do races. You can kind of pick. You have like 3 options. So you can pick a race or a battle or I don't know, hit the targets, that kind of stuff. And so you can kind of just pick ones based on the reward they're going to give you. You can buy items in a shop. You can switch between carts. I think you can only play as Kirby in this mode. And this is more of the story mode of the game. As you're going through it, you're unlocking different cutscenes. You're seeing cutscenes. There's a bit of a story unfolding. I don't even really know. It's kind of just like classic. There's a MacGuffin, and you got to get the thing. Like it's a pretty basic story, but it comes with, of course, some fun CG cutscenes, which if you go back to like all the Smash trailers and the Smash cutscenes, like it's a very similar style to that. So it's just very fun, over the top, crazy, cosmic scale. Of course, all this crazy stuff is going on there. So that mode's fun as well. And so I think between those 4, the 2 racing modes, City Trial, and the Road Trip, which has like a variety of modes in it, there is a lot of variety to be found here. And I think the best thing that really ties it all together is, just like Smash, again, there's a huge challenge board. So each one of these modes has its own challenge board. Then there's another one for online play specifically. And in those challenge boards, they just pretty much give you incentives to, a lot of them you'll just get accidentally just by doing things. But then certain ones you might only get if you're really trying to go for it. And so it's something like, on this target test map, get exactly 70 points. Or in this battle, like, destroy a racer while you're shrunken down in their giant mode, which is like a fun challenge, and different like speedrun challenges for certain missions. And for all of these modes, you get a ton of variety in there. When you're beating those things, you're unlocking like cosmetics to decorate your like online card, or things you can do for your cart. You're unlocking different machines, you're unlocking different racers, you're unlocking palette swaps and color changes for your characters. And what else? You're unlocking music tracks. You're unlocking maps. Yeah, racing maps. That's how you get a lot of those. And so obviously that's how I go first, like on the challenge map. For anyone that you've crushed, that you've beaten, that you've accomplished, the 4 adjacent tiles are also, you can get a hint at what they are, to like how to unlock them. And so usually if I see that the hint or that the reward is going to be unlocking a level or a character, those ones I've been like rushing down first. But some of them are quite challenging. But it just gives you a lot to do. It gives you a lot of different ways to play the game. One of the downsides, or not downsides, but like, I feel like I've only experienced a certain amount of this game because I've only played it single player so far. Technically, I have played some online, but I haven't played like a couch co-op session with friends yet. And I think that will be really fun. I'm excited to try that out and just see how I feel about the game. Because so far, like, I do like the mechanics, the racing. I think they've done a good job of really making it distinct from Mario Kart. I think that's the main important part, not just because it came out so close to a new Mario Kart game, but because that is just kind of the quintessential Nintendo kart racer. And it's like, what are you going to do? You got to mix it up somehow. And I think this game, like, rather than drifting in that kind of slow, consistent way that you do in Mario Kart, in this one, it's like you're doing like kind of hairpin turns, flying around corners. And I think one of the great things about this game is just the variety from machines. Like Mario Kart, you pick your different carts, there's a bunch of them. You pick your wheels or umbrella, or not umbrella, parachute thingy, depending on which game you're playing. But really, between the characters and the carts, like, most carts feel pretty much the same. And then there's like the bikes, and those feel different. Those like turn at a higher radius. The drifting's a little bit different. And so you kind of have your 2 flavors there, your 2 styles. But I feel like with Kirby, they've gone insane here. Like the basic star machine is a pretty basic one, but you have some that are based around more flying. You have some that have really weird mechanics that you need to like charge up in different ways. You have ones that like transform like midway, depending on if you like wiggle the stick back and forth, you do a little spin out and it switches the mode of it. You have the one that can like only go in straight lines, so you have to constantly adjust your straight line angles there. You have some that can bounce, some that slide really weird, and some that totally go against that like hairpin drifting boosting mechanic that I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. Like, you get such crazy variety, and it's really fun to switch them up. And then depending on which racer you use as well, like that changes things a lot as well, because I think the main thing for me stats-wise that I've noticed between the characters is just their turn radius is such a big factor in this game, since there's so many tight turns. If you get like a big slow character who doesn't have a great turn radius, and you do a machine that doesn't turn super well, that is rough. Like, it is a super challenging thing. But typically those are the carts, or the machines, I keep calling them carts, those are the machines that have like more damage power. So if you're a big guy on a big machine it is very, very satisfying to just destroy everything in your path. But obviously, you're not going to like race quite as well. I think that's another reason that I really like this game. Another big distinction. Of course, Mario Kart has items. You're hitting people with shells, bananas, all that kind of fun stuff. But this game does feel more like a car combat game, vehicular combat game. Of course, Mario Kart has like the battle mode that is specifically in there, but I guess this just has like a very distinct flavor from that. So I think it's cool that not only is the battling feel very different than Mario Kart, but also the racing feels very different. So when you mix those two together, which is very commonly in like city trial mode, that's when you're kind of mixing all this stuff into one big soup pot. That's where things feel like a lot more varied. And yeah, so I really like it. To me, this feels like closer to F-Zero than it does Mario Kart. One, because of the speed. Two, because like even just when you wiggle the stick back and forth, you like do this like spin out attack, which you can like bump into people, which is exactly a mechanic in F-Zero as well. I don't know if that was in the original Kirby Air Ride, but I like that this feels like, yeah, we're not really getting new F-Zeros. We got F-Zero 99, of course, in the Switch era, but it's been a while since we've had like a truly fresh new one. This has a very different flavor and a very different tone, of course, but I do think, and wow, I'm just looking at this video actually for the Direct, and I have not seen what this is showing me right here. I don't know where this is. I got to figure out where this is. I got to see what that mode is. I haven't seen what that is. But yeah, anyway, just I feel like I really like F-Zero. I grew up with that. Did not grow up with Kirby Air Ride, and this feels like something that's a bit more akin to that. And yeah, the car combat of it all I really like as well. Like it's been a while since we've even got like Twisted Metal or anything like that. And so this, to be a bit more like that, is fun. To have like giant boss battles that you're doing mid-race, or just certain battles where you have to fight other racers, especially what happens a lot in the road trip mode is you'll be having like a boss fight against like a shadow DDD or something like that, and that's really fun to figure out all that stuff. So yeah, I think the variety is there. All the challenge board is great for variety as well. I do wonder, though, what the long-term prospects of this game are going to be like for me. I don't know how often this is going to be in the rotation once I'm past this like honeymoon period in the first month where I'm trying to crush as much of the challenge board as I can. I feel like once I get all the racers, once I get all the maps, I don't know how much I'll come back to it. Whereas like Mario Kart is always one I'll boot up, and yeah, I'll definitely play it when I have some friends over. But I don't know if my friends are going to want to play this game. They just might want to do kart because it's more straightforward. It makes more sense. This game's like extremely ADHD core, I feel like is like the way I would describe it. And it's like a lot. Like when I was first playing, getting used to it, it's weird. Like you don't hit an accelerate button, you just move by default. And then you just have like the drift button or like the boost button. So it takes a lot of getting used to. It's very different. It's very weird. But, you know, it's just like Smash. Of course, you can change the difficulty of the CPUs. You can use easier easier machines or more difficult to maneuver machines. You can find your character that's for you. I'm really liking, well, pretty much all of them, like in different positions. Like I like the Starman guy if I have to do like some sort of flying thing. But Bandana Waddle Dee is my guy. I love that guy so much. So he's been one of my go-tos. Even just using Kirby's is always great. DDD and Meta Knight, I love them, of course. So, and then just like Mario Kart World, I like that this game also has all the freaks in there, all the weirdo Kirby characters that you never even realize how to name before, but they're in here as playable characters. Little mushroom. There's like these two balls, like then they're like twins, whatever's going on there. So it's very, very strange, very goofy, but feels very fitting in that way. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the game so far. Once again, getting back to like where it fits on the top 10. I feel like I could put this at 10, but it's kind of even with Avowed. I'm pretty happy. I'll just keep Avowed at 10. I'll keep this at 11. And it might climb up over time, but like I said, I feel like it has a certain place and it's really fun right now. It's a good like somewhat mindless game at times, and I can focus more if I want to. Maybe when I've done a bunch more multiplayers when it'd climb up, but I don't think it'll climb past 10 on my overall rankings. That's where I'm fine to just leave it where it is right now. And it's like a very strong honorable mention, and it feels like it's very coded for me just because, once again, it's Sakurai and his team, and so it feels very much like Smash Bros. Like the menus feel very Smash Bros. The icons, leveling up your characters, some of the customization stuff, like all of it feels very much like that. The challenge board. So it's very much speaking to me as like a massive Smash Bros. Fan, and so I feel like there's maybe a bit of bias there. I don't know if that's accurate. And then I think the other thing I wanted to touch on is customization. I think is really cool in this game. Another thing you can unlock is hats. You can buy hats or find them on the board somewhere. Put hats on all the different characters, give them their look. Some characters, I don't know if all of them, but some of them, especially Kirby and like the main ones, have different costumes. A lot of those costumes and even like the sprites they use in this game are just ripped right from Smash, like this exact same costume. So I really like the look of that. Obviously, that's very coded for me specifically. But it makes me wonder what the next Smash game is going to look like in terms of customization. It makes me wonder if we're going to have more, because you can also customize your carts here, like adding custom colors where you want decals, things like that. And I would love if we got something like that in Smash 4 or the next, not Smash 4, I guess Smash 4, the Switch 2, I'll call it that. I would love if we saw something like that where we could pick custom colors, more hat options, or like changing out their costumes in a more detailed way, where instead of just like, here are 8 default costumes, which, you know, they do a good job of making those have some nice variety to them. There's even a couple colors in here that like Kirby doesn't have in Smash Ultimate, and now I'm like, oh, I definitely want those to get carried over. And DDD has a cool, weird version, like the Shadow DDD I was talking about. I would love if that was a costume in the next Smash game. And I mean, I think the next Smash game, assuming Sakurai and this team make it, will have a lot of things that kind of carry over from this, because I feel like if you look at Sakurai's career, like he worked on Kirby before Smash, and then obviously Kirby became kind of like one of the main mascots and was in the first Smash game, of course, and then he went and did Melee. Then after that, he did Kirby Air Ride the first time, and I think worked on like another Kirby game or two. And then we saw in the next Smash game, that's when he added DDD and Meta Knight, so 2 more Kirby characters. And then after that, we go into Sakurai making, let me think about this, the timeline. I think, yeah, and then Brawl is when Kid Icarus was at, or Pit was added from Kid Icarus. And then after that game, before Smash 4, Sakurai worked on the next Kid Icarus game, and then we saw in Smash 4 there was Palutena and Dark Pit added, and like a bunch of maps and a bunch of assist trophies and stuff from Kid Icarus. So I feel like whatever game he works on right before a Smash Bros game, if he does, there's like a ton of things that he brings in from that, which makes sense because those are the things he's very passionate about. And so I guarantee we'll get like a Kirby Air Ride like city trial map that you can do. I hope it means we finally get like Bandana Waddle Dee. I've wanted him in Smash for a while. I think that would be really cool. More assist trophies for sure. Maybe something to do with a machine. Like maybe that could be part of what's his name, Bandana Waddle Dee's moveset or something. So I think it would be really cool, and I hope we get a bunch of fun, goofy Kirby Air Rider stuff in the next Smash game in one way or another. And I hope it means that we get another attempt at Smash Run, because of course that's kind of lost to time now a little bit on the Smash 4, only specifically the 3DS, didn't get carried over to Smash Ultimate. I really like that mode. I do think maybe the struggle is like, how do you do at split screen? But I think, you know, people have such big TVs these days, generally speaking, that I feel like, you know, do split screen of that, it can work. So I hope we get like another attempt at that. I would love to see it. So yeah, really loving Kirby Air Riders. Super fun game. Excited to play it with some more friends or whip it on the different Geek First streams that we do and all that kind of fun stuff. But I think that's maybe where I'll leave it for now. And so maybe this will be a good time for me to do a quick break, and then we can come back and get more into some of the top 10. So I'm going to thank our Patreon producers, Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad Mike, TGGLM69, Charlie Rendell, Cocktail Clay, John with no H, and Sam Green. Thank you all so much for supporting the show, keeping the lights on, all that good stuff. Patreon, you know, all sorts of early exclusive stuff that we do over there. Just the best place to support us if you do want to support the show. You know, if not, join the Discord, say hello to us there, leave a review. All those things are very helpful. And yeah, I think, you know, we still have some things we pre-recorded, so things are still releasing, even though we are taking a bit of a break here in these Christmas-y sort of weeks. But there's all sorts of things up on Patreon if you want to go listen to some more stuff there that you haven't seen before. Travis is doing his Travis Told Yous. I'm doing this episode here. Fallout reviews will be back next week. I've been watching some more of that, but we're going to get back to that in a week's time. So yeah, all sorts of fun stuff happening on the feed. And yeah, I mean, January is always a fun time because we do the previews, we do some of the drafts then. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, check out all that fun stuff. And yeah, like I said, next week's episode is going to be the preview, and then the week after that is when we'll do the draft, the Sidequest draft, game draft. So that will be fun. We'll reveal the results from last year, and then go right into the our new draft for next year. So it should be a good time. How about we take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back to get back into the rest of the top 10. Okay, we are back. So yeah, let me get back into my list here, and I will put it up on the screen for those of you who like the YouTube version of this. So yeah, my list so far, as I mentioned, the top 10. So yeah, that took us right into the kind of 10, 11, 12 range, which, as I mentioned, is kind of like a even tier that has Avowed, Kirby Air Riders, and Metal Garden on it. I think I talked about all those quite a lot last week's Game of the Year episode, so I can skip mosey on past those. Number 13 is where I put Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which I think the only reason I haven't played it more this last week is because I've just been fiendishly devouring Kirby Air Riders. That's been my go-to game this last week. But I love Cosmic Invasion. I do want to get 100% of the stuff in it, go back through all the levels. There's like certain objectives in each of them. I really like this game. I hope it gets some DLC. I would love to get a few more characters, a couple more levels, a couple more boss fights in there. It's just such a fun beat 'em up, and like it's not my genre, as I've mentioned before, but this team is just so good at making them. And yeah, I love the art style. I love the character roster. Super fun time. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. I feel like I haven't really seen much chatter about it because I feel like it came out like the same day or whatever as Metroid Prime 4, so people do that, or it came around the Game Awards. Came out like right around the Game of the Year time, where a lot of outlets aren't really doing like more reviews or checking out new games. They're kind of just focusing on the Game of the Year stuff. So I feel like it maybe slipped under the radar a little bit, but I think it's a fun one to play for the holidays too. Looking for something co-op to play with. I'm sure kids would love it as well. So check it out, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Really like that game. Number 14. So yeah, on my top 10 list, as I mentioned last week, there are certain things like remasters, remakes that I kind of took off my list. I just kind of would rather have new, fresh things in here. But this is my ranking of all 49 games I played this year, new games. So everything's on here, and this is where I put the Sea of Stars DLC. Throes of the Watchmaker is what it's called, and I really loved this DLC. It's Sea of Stars was my game of the year in 2023, so it's just more of that. But I do think this added like a new character that has like a really interesting moveset. Added a couple I guess nothing really too new in terms of mechanics, but just really great boss fights, really fun areas, some really, really well-designed puzzles that were quite tricky. So yeah, it did a really good job of just expanding what that base game was, and I think it was free. So like, heck yeah, that's the best way. Also added some more wheels gameplay, so shoutouts to that. And then I guess as for the tier, I should say this, that we'll go with this. So from 13, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, all the way up to my spot 21 on my list is kind of like a pretty even tier. So a lot of things right in that kind of honorable mention territory. So all these next ones somewhat interchangeable, but I am happy with the order I've gone with today. Number 15 is where I've put Is This Seat Taken? It's the puzzle game that came out, I think, over the summer. It's in one of the Sidequest episodes, I think in the title of the episode if you want to hear more about it. But just a really cute, simple puzzle game. Took me like 4 to 5 hours to beat. Really fun, really cute art style, clever mechanic. I would play more of this if they made a sequel. I really like what's going on here. Very goofy game, made me laugh, made me... And it actually tells a touching story too, which is kind of funny. Maybe I don't know, touching maybe is a strong word, but I thought it was a very cute story that it tells with at least like the main character. So not something I expected when I saw the first trailer for that game. So the fact that it was able to do all these different things is quite impressive. So really fun game. Is This Seat Taken? Number 16 is where I put Monochrome Heights, which is the 2D platformer made by a good friend of mine, Patrick. It's a great freaking platformer. Really interesting mechanic. The core mechanic of the game is that there are pretty much anything in the world, including you, is 2 colors, black and white. And so if your character is on like white mode, wherever, you can like stand on black platforms. And then when you switch, it's the opposite. So if you switch to then black, then you can stand on white platforms. And so it starts out pretty basic. You maybe do a little bit platforming on some black platforms, switch over to white, then you do some platforming there. But then, in the later worlds, it gets crazy. Like you just got to constantly switch back and forth. So you're doing not only difficult, like hard platforming, but you also have to get that timing down. And like maybe you have to jump through an obstacle that would normally kill you. But obviously, if you switch to the color that it is, you can just like phase right through it and pass right by. And then it's just that core concept there sounds cool, sounds interesting. And then it's just that idea is kind of stretched to every possible way you could think of to use it. With different like individual level kind of mechanics that change things up, new obstacles you're having to face, tighter timings, all that kind of fun stuff. It's a really great game. Check it out. Super fun 2D platformer if you're into challenging platformers. Number 17, I have Civ 7, which, yeah, as I mentioned last week, like, this one could climb up the list. It could be higher. It could have been my number 10. Honestly, I really, really enjoy my time with it. Yeah, it's a very buggy game. Feels very early access. So to me, it almost feels like you're kind of just barely squeaking out as like an official game that came out this year. It feels like a bit of a cheat code, So this is definitely a game I think I'll sink a lot of hours into over the years. But I've just kind of taken my time with it now, waiting for more patches to come out. Maybe some more content. We'll see how expensive all that stuff is. But yeah, I do really enjoy the game. I think it's really well designed. It's a beautiful game. Cool, interesting new mechanics. Definitely a step up from 6 for me. Not quite as good as 5, but I really enjoy Civ 7. Number 18, Sniper Elite Resistance. So yeah, shoutouts to Rebellion Games. Of course, they have Atomfall at number 6 on my list, and they also have Sniper Elite, which is in this nice honorable mention tier. Sniper Elite Resistance, honestly, nothing too new mechanically from it. Like, there's a new character, I guess, if you're into that. I'm sure for the lower heads of Sniper Elite, they like that. But for me, it's just more levels that are well designed, good stealth action, hybrid gameplay. Always fun. I always have a good time with Sniper Elite games, except for the first one's a little janky, but it's kind of old. So otherwise, I really love this series, and this was a nice addition. It was a shorter one, but it still gave me like a good 10 hours, I think, of gameplay. So shoutouts to Rebellion for a nice 1-2 punch this year. Number 19, Rogue Prince of Persia, which is a game that I have a lot of thoughts about. I really enjoy a lot of what this game's doing. I think that from the roguelike perspective, like the weapon variety and the upgrade variety that you can get with your character, really, really fun. The combat is really good, and I don't normally like 2D combat systems like this, but this one really worked for me somehow. The movement feels really good of chaining together wall runs and flinging around on poles and, running up and sideways and every which way you can possibly imagine. Really, really cool. I like the structure of the story and how you have different objectives taking you to different zones, and you can kind of choose them depending on the run. Boss fights were well designed. So everything about it sounds great, and you might think, why isn't this higher? For me, the downside was the level design. I think really when you get down to the individual levels, it's always still fun to move around them and do the fighting and all that, but really at the end of the day, I think you end up seeing the same structures over and over again. Things start to feel very formulaic, and yeah, just like the variety falls out, which is definitely something you need. You can have one like an Binding of Isaac, which maybe the level design isn't super amazing every single time, but like the variety is just there with so many crazy items and combinations. Or you can have a game like Spelunky, which admittedly doesn't have like a ton of huge variety in the level design, but it just feels so damn good, and there's just like little tweaks here or there that make it fresh every single time, even if it is like using certain chunks and templates and stuff like that. But I think Rogue Prince of Persia is lacking that in terms of the roguelike nature of it. So after about like 8-10 hours, I think I was ready to dip, even though there were still a lot of things I wanted to figure out and see, but it just ended up being a lot of doing the same thing over and over again. And runs are pretty long, honestly. Like even in that 8-10 hours, I don't know how many runs that is, like maybe 12 to 15 or something. Maybe a bit more than that, but it's just it's a pretty slow paced game. So I think if you don't have as much variety, you need the game to be quicker or something. So just the tweaking of it wasn't quite there for me for it to be a top tier game, but I did really enjoy it. Next up is kind of a 1-2 punch here. At 20, I put Oblivion. At 21, I put PVZ Replanted. Honestly, these games, like quality-wise, probably could fit in the top 10 in terms of how much I like these games, but they do feel like pretty close to the original remakes or remasters. Oblivion is mostly just an updated visual look to it with a couple quality of life changes, and PVZ has like a couple new things to it, but mostly it's just nice to have it on the Switch. But these are two of my favorite games of all time, so they still squeak into that top 20 zone pretty easily. So yeah, shoutouts to those two games. I think that's the ending of this tier I have, and then we bumped down a little bit with this next tier, but it's still a tier of games that I really enjoyed, and maybe if I had spent more time with or finished, they could have climbed up. I think that's kind of a good way to describe it. I haven't beat any of these games yet, but my next number 22 on my list is Split Fiction, which I did try to finish this game. As I mentioned last week, I had some issues with the Switch version and like being able to play online. I do like this game, but I just don't think I'm on that tier with everyone else in terms of loving it. I think for me, it's a bit too linear, a bit more streamlined, which I think, it makes sense for a co-op game when you're having to coordinate two people. It probably makes sense. But to me, it just felt like, I don't know, maybe not quite as fun to explore as it could have been. But I mean, really fun, really creative, really distinct areas. Story's not very good. I don't really care much for the characters or any of that sort of stuff. But it is it's a fun time. It's a fun, well-made co-op game, and whatever the next one is, I will probably pick it up and play it as well. They're just Hazelight. They're just crushing it over there. This next one is another weird one, and for any very eagle-eared listeners, you might have noticed that last week I said I had 48 games played, but this week I have 49 games played. There is another game other than Kirby Air Riders that I've played in the last few days, and that is Peak, which for now sits at 23, but honestly, that number feels kind of meaningless. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to, make my own list sound invalid here, but here's the thing. Peak, I finally played it 2 days ago. I only played one session. It was maybe like an hour, hour and a half. I really enjoyed my time with it in that amount of time. I mean, I expected for the genre and what the game looked like in the trailers. I expected it to be like a janky, goofy little thing you do with your friends. And then honestly seeing it like really high up on a lot of the Game of the Year lists or being, best multiplayer nominee, I think, at the Game Awards. I was like, okay, maybe there's something more to this. Maybe it's not just simple friend game. And even just that one pretty short session I did, I was really impressed with a lot of the stuff that was going on. I mean, obviously, it's a very silly game, makes you laugh a lot, which, is always a hard thing for games to do. But the variety of items, just the fun climbing mechanics, the good teamwork mechanics, the chaos that can happen, and just like the variety of the world I found really good as well. And so I need a lot more time with it. I will play a lot more time with it. It's not like one of these games that I just do one session and then move on. Like I do want to play it more. I just haven't had time to do that yet. So this number feels, as I mentioned, kind of meaningless. I expect this one to climb up into that next tier, and it could be in the top 10. Who knows? I feel like it could get as high as, I think all the way up to 6. My list is pretty pretty agile. So I feel like it could climb into the top 10 for sure when I've spent more time with it. So I feel bad putting it this low, to be honest. I feel like it does deserve to be higher, but I gotta be honest to what I gotta be honest to myself. And right now I just haven't played enough of it. And then number 24, I have a very similar game to it. And this one's called Co-op Kaiju Horror Cooking, which is another zany, goofy, silly co-op game to play with your friends. And this one, the premise is that you are kind of these 4 chefs. You are out here. There's like a giant catapult. You can do your cooking out here near this catapult, cooking things up, chopping them up, maybe put them in the mortar and pestle, and crushing them up. Put all these things in a catapult and fling them at a kaiju and try and satisfy this kaiju so that it leaves you alone and doesn't kill you in the party. And then in between that, parts of your co-op team are going into this dungeon. You're finding items, you're fighting enemies, you're trying to just get different food items that the kaiju will like. You've got to bring them out and then do the cooking and send it off. It's a fun game. I really enjoy it. It's a really, really janky game. It feels a little unpolished, actually quite unpolished, but I have had a lot of fun with it. So for me, even though I've played it more than Peak, it still felt like Peak deserved to be higher than it, just because of like the quality of life and the just general quality of the product overall. But I do really enjoy this game. I like that it and Peak are kind of right next to each other in my mind. And then at 25, this is closing out this little tier here, is Squeakcross. Squeakcross Home Squeak Home is the full title of that game. It's a fun game. It's a Picross hybrid with a town, not a town, like a house building game, kind of Animal Crossing-y picture, like grid-based, putting furniture down. So you're solving Picross puzzles that give you items to put in this little house that a cute little rat lives in. So you give them different stuff. Simple game, but really cute. I just like making houses in games. Another one that I've been playing over the holidays, I'll probably talk about in the next couple weeks on Sidequest that I've been enjoying. This game's cute, though. I like Picross puzzles enough, and so that's why I haven't like finished this game yet by any means. It's like I just slowly want to chip away at it, and so I have really enjoyed it. It's a very cute game. Okay, and then we go into this next tier, and honestly, I think I'm going to dump everything in here in this one next tier. This is from 26 all the way up to 49, so closing out the list, like 23 games here. A lot of these games I've only played a bit of. Maybe I played a demo. Maybe it was on Game Pass, and I played it for a couple hours and then dipped. Maybe I played it for a few hours and just didn't really enjoy it. They all kind of fall into that tier in one way or another. And so honestly, these games I do want to put a little asterisk on them of like, you could make an argument that I haven't given them a fair shake. But, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many hours in my entire life. And I got to spend time doing things that I like doing. And for all these games, after playing for some amount of time, I was like, yeah, cool, interesting, or otherwise. And I just kind of want to move on to something else. And so that's where kind of all of these fall. But they are still ordered roughly from how much I enjoyed them to dislike them in this amount of time that I spent with them. Number 26 is Wheel World. I really like this game, actually, and I do want to spend more time with it. The issue I have with this one is truly just the release date and when I played it. I think I talked about this in the Game of the Year episode last week. I was just extremely burnt out of any video games at all in like October into November into December. And this game, I played a bit of it in that period of time, and it was cool. I liked the mechanics. I liked the race mechanics. Felt good. I liked the art style. It was not the mood for me at that point in time, so I definitely got to give this one another shake at some point in time. Deliver at All Costs is a really cool game. I recommend this one. It's a strange game, really good graphics, and like it's almost like a Simpsons hit and run. It's like a top-down camera. Camera's a bit different than hit and run, but like you can just drive around, make havoc. Every building is destructible in this game, so it's just fun as like a physics simulator to just smash through buildings and see them topple upon each other. It feels like a bit like GTA in that way as well. I've had a fun time with it. It just honestly does not run great on my PC, so it's like a little bit slow, chugs at times, and there's a lot of loading screens, which is another thing that took me out of the world at times, but I think that makes sense if you have just that level of detail of destructibility. So yeah, Deliver at All Costs, a cool game that I think someday I will play more of and enjoy quite a lot. I don't know if I have much of an opinion on like the story or the quests and things like that, but in terms of just crashing into stuff, like I had a good couple hours messing around with this one. Lonely Mountains Snow Riders, one that I'm maybe disappointed to have this low. I mean, I really loved Lonely Mountains Downhill, the mountain biking version of this, where this is a skiing game. Honestly, if this game had snowboarding, it might have been a lot higher for me because I am a snowboarder myself. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's okay. Just didn't really do much for me. I think I loved Downhill, Lonely Mountain Downhill. This one just didn't really click in the same way. Something about the physics, the mechanics perhaps, maybe even the art style and variety and just feeling of skiing versus bikes. But yeah, it's a decent game. It just was not for me. Sword of the Sea might be the only game in this category, this is at 29, that I've actually beaten. It's a pretty short game. It's like 2 hours or something. Kind of a journey-like game, same team, or at least partially the same team. I don't know. Me and Kirkland did a review. You can go back and check that out. I just didn't really feel much of anything playing this game. I think early on I quite liked it in terms of just the skiing, sword, like snowboarding. Speaking of snowboarding on a sword through sand dunes. It sounds like the coolest thing ever. But I think gameplay-wise, there just isn't much going on there. Puzzles aren't really that interesting. The trick system is kind of just whatever. So it just feels a lacking substance, I suppose. Nice looking game though, for sure. Number 30, I have Monster Train 2. I don't know. I played a bit of this. I quite liked the Monster Train 1. Not my favorite roguelike of all time by any means, but I thought it was a cool game. And 2 just felt like the exact same. Which I think for a lot of people, that's just what they wanted. They just wanted more Monster Train, a couple new classes, new cards, all that kind of new bosses, that stuff. But for me, I guess I maybe wanted something a bit more fresh and different, like Monster Train. I don't know if I ever beat a run of it, but I definitely played it for quite a few hours. And this one, after a couple runs, I was like, I'm okay. I don't think I need to play more of this. 31, I have Keeper, which is the Double Fine game from this year, where you are the weird lighthouse walking around. I don't have a ton of experience with Double Fine as a studio, and I do want to go check out Psychonauts. Both those games seem like my cup of tea. Keeper was not, though. I don't know. It just didn't really do much for me. I didn't really care much for the puzzles. It was quite slow and sluggish gameplay. So, yeah, I don't think I have much to say about Keeper. 32, I have RV There Yet, which honestly probably should be higher than some of these other games, but I think I've docking it down because it is a really janky game. So this is kind of similar to Peak or Co-op Kaiju Horror Cooking, similar game, just goofy co-op friend game, proximity chat. I feel like this game, I don't know when it came out, but I think it was like Peak came out. That was really successful, and I feel like this team kind of just quickly put together the quickest version of Peak they possibly could to put on Steam and try and get some traction, which I think worked for them because I and many of my friends bought it and a lot of other people did. But I think it needs more polish, and hopefully they stick with it and keep working on it because it is a fun game and I would like to play more of it. But it's just like you're cruising around in an RV with your friends, and if you get like a bump in the road, like you'll just clip through the walls and fly out of the RV, which feels like that shouldn't happen. It feels like the game should work properly. It just feels like it was a bit too. It was a little pooped out, you know. It was a little janky for my liking. So I will probably play it more with some friends. But yeah, I think I docked at points just because it feels like it was maybe put out there to catch on to a trend rather than to put out like an actually well-made game, if that makes sense. And if that's too savage for me to say, I'm sorry if any of the developers are listening to this. Number 33, I have Rematch. Really cool game, really well-made soccer game from the team that made Sifu. It's just, you know, with certain genres, certain specific niches and subgenres, I'm not going to play this over Rocket League. You know, I played a few games. I do like the mechanics. I think it's cool and interesting. But if I'm going to play this game, I would 100% of the time go play Rocket League instead. So I can't really blame the game for that. That's more of a me thing. But yeah, it's cool. It's well made. It's well done. I enjoyed a few matches that I played with it. 34, I have South of Midnight, which I played for a couple hours. Love the art style, like the music. I like a lot of what it's doing here in terms of the style and the vibe of it. I just thought the gameplay was really boring. The traversal mechanics as well as the combat just didn't feel very good to me, so I didn't stick with it. 35, I have Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I don't know. I played a few hours of it. It's fine. I'm not a really big Assassin's Creed guy. I got to go back and play some of those original ones for the sake of Taylor on the podcast and see what those games are all about. But this one just didn't really do the trick for me. And I didn't even pick up GOTY, so I think maybe I just wasn't vibing this kind of huge open world checklisty game this year. Maybe that's what it was. Next up, 36, I have Doom Dark Ages. I don't know. I just did not like this game. I didn't like the new mechanics of the shield dashing and all that kind of stuff. The slower kind of funking around gameplay just didn't really work for me. I didn't find it to be very fun. So yeah, Doom 36. 37, I have a weird small game called Fall Structure, which is kind of like a platforming game where you just kind of go down from platform to platform. It's fun for a little bit. I think it's free on Steam, so you can go check it out if you want. It's okay. It's it's something to do for an hour, but didn't really click with me beyond that. To a T, it was a cool indie game. I feel like it has a really well done story. Great way to implement a story like this using like what is commonly seen as like a video game glitch to tell like a story of like a character with a disability. Really cute game. I didn't really care much for the gameplay, unfortunately, so I didn't get super duper far into it. And another one that is probably shouldn't even be on this list, to be honest, but it is anyway, is Monster Hunter Wilds at 39. I played like the demo for this on PlayStation, and I don't know, I'm not really a Monster Hunter guy. I know a couple hours is not enough time to determine if a Monster Hunter game is good. It's not really my genre, honestly. I do want to eventually fall in love with one of these games. I've tried a couple of them now, but the Wilds demo didn't do the trick for me. Number 40, I have Tempopo, which this game I was really disappointed in, actually. This is a puzzle game from the team that made, or at least partially the team that made, oh my god, why can't I remember the name of it right now? The game where you put items in a house that I really like, and it's called Unpacking. I love Unpacking. Great game. Was in my top 10 of that given year. And this is the next game from at least part of that team, but it just seemed like a really basic, like almost like mobile game, puzzle game, and I don't know. I didn't like really anything about this. I didn't find the puzzles that interesting. Didn't like the art style. Didn't like the music that much, which is disappointing because I loved everything about Unpacking. So I don't know. Hopefully this was more of like a smaller side thing than like their next big project. But yeah, I'm still excited for what that team makes next. But it's definitely no Unpacking. And then number 41 and 42 is where I have both Ninja Gaiden 2 Black and Ninja Gaiden 4. The character action, things like this, they're not Dylan games. I tried both of them because they were on Game Pass, but just not really my thing, unfortunately. Number 43, I have Roadcraft, which is one of these like simulator driving games where you got to drive through mud and like hitch onto stuff, and it's very simmy in that way. It was fun for a little bit, but didn't really stick with it. Eternal Strands. This is probably weakest argument I have here is I barely played this game. I've maybe played like a half an hour of this on Game Pass, so I'm just going to squeak past that. It probably deserves to be higher. 45, Wuchang Fallen Feathers was a Souls-like game that came out. It was decent. I played it for a little bit, first couple areas, and it was okay, but, you know, it didn't really stick with me. 46, FBC Firebreak, just a weird, strange game from the team that made Control, but it seems like, I don't know what their goal with this was, but I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's a game that exists. 47, Dinkum is a kind of goofy Animal Crossing-y, survival-y kind of game. Played a bit of it. It was a little janky, I suppose. It just wasn't really my cup of tea. I didn't really like the art style much, so it didn't stick with me. 48, Spray Paint Simulator. I don't know. Power Wash Sim, Spray Paint Sim. These I don't think I get these games. I guess, you know, some people like calming games, but for me, I feel like hold the triggers down so much, and it like gives me like carpal tunnel, and it's not calming for me. So not a fan of that. And then this one, 49, my last game, Fire Emblem Shadows. I just kind of thought it would be funny to put a Fire Emblem game last on a yearly ranking. I don't know. I don't think they were trying that hard when they made this game. And I'm very excited for the Fire Emblem next year. Maybe that'll be my number one. And maybe we'll go from Fire Emblem being my least favorite game of the year to next year it being my favorite. That would be crazy. I don't think there's much to say about this game. It's just kind of weird. It doesn't even really feel like Fire Emblem, but technically it kind of is. So there's my list, and you know what? I'm sticking to it. Other than like Peak, I feel like deserves a little more time, and I'd probably climb that up. But as always, like with my last couple of Game of the Years, I think I've retracted things or made changes in the months afterwards. These things happen. These things are fluid. But as of right now, which is, you know, December 30th of 2025, that's my list. That's every game I've played, every new game I've played in 2025 ranked. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know if you did. I might do that more in the coming years. And let's see, what is last? Last here is my, of course, my ranking and my anticipated ranking. But let's do the last ad break, and then we'll be right back to do that. Okay, so 2026 is right around the corner. I'm not going to go too in-depth on this list. This is going to be a bit quicker, but essentially I just wanted to share my top 10 most anticipated games of the year, and I've ordered it too, because I just love ranking things so much. So why not do one more last ranking for the year? And so yeah, these are I tried to keep this with games that had actual release dates, or things that had windows, or things that have a 2026 labeled on them at the very least. I wanted this to be like tangible games that I feel like have a really good chance of actually coming out this year. Of course, anything can get delayed and kicked. Some of these, you know, GTA 6 could get kicked again out of 2026, for example. Who knows what's going to happen there. But yeah, I tried to keep it to that. I think maybe the one honorable mention for me here is Fable. I don't know if that's coming out next year. I think it is supposed to, and I'm sure we'll find out more about it at the Xbox Developer Direct. But also, you know, we haven't seen a lot of gameplay yet. We've seen just a tiny bit in trailers that feels like it could have been doctored. I don't know how true that even was to reality. You know, it's from a team that has made racing games for like 20 years. And so I just don't know what this game is going to be like. I want to see more of it, but I'm excited for it, but I just couldn't quite put it in the top 10, but it was very close. Number 10 on my list, I have Witchbrook, which is a kind of a top-down isometric art style, pixel art, Harry Potter type co-op game where you're at a wizarding school. You can go in, jump in with your friends, and yeah, I don't know. You probably do combat. You probably go to classes. You probably ride around on broomsticks. You probably talk to people and have a fun time. It just seems like one of those kind of chill games where you can kind of do a little bit of everything in this kind of small, compact world. Looks very, very cute, and I think the multiplayer angle to it seems great. So yeah, it kind of looks like a Hogwarts Legacy, but just with a kind of a different art style, and then adding co-op in there. So I am very excited for this game. I've been looking forward to it for a couple of years. It is supposed to come out next year, and I think it'll be a fun co-op game to play with some friends. So shouts to Witchbrook. Number 9 is where I have Ontos, which is the next horror game from the team that has made Amnesia, that did Soma. And this one does feel like more in that Soma realm of things, a more sci-fi instead of the Amnesia thing. But I really like the last Amnesia game. I just bought Soma on sale, and did I buy the Amnesia collection? I might have. It was super cheap, I think. But yeah, I'm planning to play a couple more of their games in the next few months here. It's definitely Soma I got to play before Ontos, I think, and me and Kirkland talked about doing a retrospective of that, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, really liked Amnesia the Bunker, so I think these guys are just in a really good spot for horror games in terms of making things that are pretty compact, a nice 6 to 8 hour like runtime kind of thing. Good concepts, good scares, but really good mechanics. A little bit of like a immersive sim energy to them as well. So looking forward to Ontos. Number 8 is where I have Super Meat Boy 3D. I love Super Meat Boy. It's one of my favorite platformers for sure. And I like 3D platformers. This seems like the best of both worlds. I love the art style of this. Very much looking forward to this game. I'm sure it's just going to be really hard, but a lot of fun. So yeah, looking forward to that. Number 7, I have Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. So yeah, from last place, 2025, to maybe to at least my top 7 most anticipated next year. I don't know. There's some things about the trailers that we got for this game that aren't speaking to me in terms of like the art style and characters and things like that. But I think some of the mechanics, some of the new classes and things like that could be interesting. Truly don't know too much about this game yet, but I am quite excited for it. It's been, Engage was a bit of a downturn for me in the series after a high of Three Houses. So yeah, hopefully this one's like a return to form. And I think this one is probably from the Three Houses team, whereas Engage, I believe, was like a different sub-team that makes Fire Emblem games. So very much looking forward to that. Number 6, I have Black Frost, The Long Dark 2. I really love the first Long Dark. Really cool game. Interesting, cool survival game in the northern Canadian landscape. I think the biggest selling point for me with the sequel is co-op, similar to like Witchbrook or whatever it is. But I just think that this could be really fun. One, survival games that co-op go together like peanut butter and jelly. Amber, good close friend of mine, still plays Long Dark every once in a while, and we're always like so many times have I just watched Amber play Long Dark for hours because it's not a multiplayer game, and so I'm just very excited to jump in and play actual co-op of that game. I think it'll be really, really fun to divvy up tasks, explore the world, and even if it's just the exact same game but multiplayer and like a little bit of just a new map to get used to, that is all I could ask for. So very much looking forward to that one. Number 5, Mina the Hollower, which I played the demo for and really enjoyed, and it just barely got kicked out of this year. And since there was a demo and it was close to coming out 2025, I feel like this probably is still coming out I guess 2026. It doesn't have a date now officially. It's just, to be determined, but I think it is probably coming out. And it'll be great. Shovel Knight team making like a Zelda-like game. It's what more could you ask for? Number 4, I have Resident Evil Requiem. Yeah, I've been talking a lot about Resident Evil the last couple of years, and this game looks cool, especially with the Game Awards, Leon being in there, some of that fun stuff. I like the setting of the game. I'm sure it's going to be a great time, so looking forward to that one. Number 3, Marvel's Wolverine. I love me X-Men, love me some Insomniac games, love me some superhero games in general. This game's going to be great, I'm sure of it. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. Number 2, I have 007 First Light. Obviously, I'm a Hitman sicko, play so much Hitman. Still, even till like this, last couple weeks, I've been playing some more Hitman. Infinitely replayable game for me. I don't know if 007 is going to be going for that in terms of huge replayability on these levels. They've said as much, but we'll see what the actual structure is like in the game. But yeah, I can't wait to see what they are going to do here with a little more cinematic the story, a little bit more actiony gameplay, a little bit more maneuverability with your character. I think that that could go a long way. The fun tech, things like that. I feel like this game's going to be just a hoot of a time. So very much looking forward to that. And the number 1, I do have GTA 6 because, highly anticipated, long awaited. It's going to be a fun game. Even if it's not as good as 5 or 4 or whatever, it's still going to be like a super duper fun game. Tons of content. Going to spend so much time with it, especially the online as well. So yeah, no shocker there, but GTA 6 being my number 1. So yeah, those are just my top 10, but there was a lot of things that I cut from here that were close, and we'll talk about a lot of those next week on next week's preview episode. But yeah, this is a fun episode. The Game of the Year epilogue, a fun idea. Hopefully you all liked this, hearing what I'm most anticipating next year, some Kirby Air Riders talk, all that good stuff. Let me know what you are most anticipated or most looking forward to of games coming out in 2026. And it'll be another fun year of Sidequest as per usual. Thank you all for listening. And you know what? I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.